movie industry. Before we get started, I just will say I have reached out to the parking attendant, and if you do happen to get a ticket, please bring that to us and we will take care of it. And enjoy Maria.
All right. Oh, good. Hold on. I have props that I forgot to bring. So, hi, my name is Maria Gus. I'm the Executive Director of Visit Bartlesville, which is our destination marketing organization. It's been called many things, right? Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Tourism Office, but the new lingo is destination marketing, because what we're doing is marketing our destination for people to come visit us. This is our new 2024 visitor guide. So I forgot, I was going to bring you guys some and I forgot, but they have some here. And if you run out, History Museum, I will bring you more, I promise. But one thing I wanted to point out that's new this year in our visitor guide is we sold more ads than we planned, which is a good problem to have. So we had to fill extra space. So what we did was the state film office came up with this really nifty Killers of the Flower Moon guide, kind of a, places to see. So it's a little bit small in this guide. I have some larger ones at the visitor center if you'd like to get them. But it's really neat. It just talks about some of the locations where they filmed, Osage Hill State Park, maybe places that they visited. I think they also talk about how the office was here at the old Siemens building, the West Side Manufacturing Center, and also talked about the airplane hangar where we had our studio space. So, which was fun and created issues also. So one of the funny things about doing this is that, I was hired to become the tourism director in 2008. It was November of 2008. Early in 2009, the Oklahoma Film and Music Office called me because they were location scouting for a project that was coming into Oklahoma. And so it was super exciting, and what is this? And I didn't know. And they kept it very close to the vest. For many of you, that was Terrence Malick's To the Wonder. Mr. Malick is very private, so that was part of the reason that they were very secretive about it. But to have started that job in 2008 with the intention of marketing our community, and then to have this opportunity to start helping the film industry was just really pretty amazing and magical for me. But my presentation, Film in Bartlesville, it all starts with a visit. So one thing that we talk about in tourism and economic development is everything starts with a visit. So Steve Napolitan, I'm going to pick on you. I mean, why did you decide to come? I mean, before you decided to move to Bartlesville, did you have to visit here?
Well, yeah, we were actually on a road trip, and then she found a good Airbnb downtown because she likes old homes, like the old style. Betty knows that. And then we were not thinking to live here. We were traveling around, and then we kept coming back to Bartlesville every night after we looked around Tulsa, and we're like, what the heck?
It all starts with a visit. So thank you for illustrating my point. It all starts with a visit. If a business is moving to town, if a family is moving to Bartlesville, if a film is coming to Bartlesville, it all starts with a visit. So our goal is to make that visit enjoyable, to make sure that they have the information that they need. And so that's where the tourism angle comes in. Part of the reason also that tourism sort of started with the film industry is it used to be in Oklahoma previously that the Oklahoma Film and Music Office fell under the umbrella of the Oklahoma Tourism and Recreation Department. It now is connected to the Department of Commerce, but certainly all of those things overlap. Commerce, tourism, and film. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about what a destination marketing organization is. I'm going to zip through this, but basically we're marketing the community. We're trying to capitalize on all of the positive public relations that we're getting. We're trying to get groups here, conferences. Of course we want leisure travelers, but the easiest way for us to track economic impact is by the groups that are coming in, because we are typically communicating directly with them, sports groups and things like that. We do a lot of publicity, marketing, and I get to serve as a liaison. I was at the Capitol on Tuesday for the travel industry day at the Capitol, so I get to do those kinds of things, and then we also provide grants to some of our events. So this is just like the rundown, right? PR, marketing, customer service, data collection, that's my super favorite fun, nerdy part. I have so many statistics. I'm sorry I didn't take statistics in college. I tried to sneak out of it. I did successfully, but I should have taken it. And then I get to be a film liaison and support for locations. So this is kind of like the big stuff, right? We had To the Wonder at first, August, Osage County, of course, Killers of the Flower Moon. Twisters just completed filming in the state of Oklahoma. Oklahoma City got most of that attention, but they did live here in Bartlesville for a little bit. They did some shooting in Osage County. I think we got, I can't remember totally, but I think we got about 10 to 15 days of overnight stays with people because they did some B-roll footage and shot on some land in Osage County. And then, of course, we've had lots of small films. Pruning the Family Tree, starring Renee Michaels, who is here. I have a celebrity from Pruning the Family Tree. Lovetown, which was Jay and Anjanette Webster. They've done lots of productions, but that was one of the first ones that they did. Calls to Okies. Go look it up. If you like prank phone calls, go look up Calls to Okies, the Park Grub story. Those are a bunch of guys that were a little bit older than me in high school and did a lot of prank phone calls, and then it became this like, they started recording them on cassette tapes and started sharing them. It's a really cute short film. I got to help them with that a little bit. It premiered at South by Southwest. That was super fun. Joey and To the Stars, they did a little bit of filming here. Joey and Ella is a fun children's movie that they filmed a little at the kiddie park. Playground of the Native Son. I don't know if it's been released, but it was a film based on the Hominy Indians football team that played against the New York Giants and won. So hopefully we'll see that pretty soon. And then Oh My Goodness was a short film that I got to help Andy Dossett and Kyle Travis with last year, and we premiered at Dead Center, and we had some Evan Hewitt and Steve Napolitan came with us, and that was fun to get to show that. Okay, so here's my statistics. Number wonder, okay? Look, listen, I was tired and I came up with what I thought was funny quips. So Terrence Malick set the stage for us. It was 2009. The scouting started in April, or maybe it was a little bit earlier. They began pre-production in July of 2020. We helped them. It was right at that time that Phillips Petroleum Company was getting ready they wanted to get out of the hotel business. So here we have this big, huge, empty hotel, and they needed a place to stay and they needed offices. So I made the calls to the people at Phillips and helped put the attorneys in touch and facilitated that. That worked out really great for us. Now, it would have been fantastic if we would have gotten lodging tax and they had used hotels, but at that time, you know, this was our first time. We were trying to be accommodating, and who knew that that was the first of kind of this steamroll that happened. They spent over $5 million in the time that they were here. There was a 26% increase in lodging tax during that time, an overall increase in sales tax of 3%, and I put the Patterson principle. And John Patterson was their locations manager. My favorite person on a film set is the locations manager. It's always the locations manager. They're my favorite people. They're the first one in, they're the last one out. They're the ones that want to communicate with the people in the community to make sure that the film does not step on anybody's toes, that they have all of the permits that they need, that they are connecting with the right kinds of people. And John Patterson was the locations manager for this particular production. He had worked on some things with Terrence Malick before. He had worked on Friday Night Lights. He's in an episode also. If you really want to see him, I'll send it to you. He was a really awful racist dad. It was funny. I texted him. I was like, "You're terrible." Anyway, John said, you know, when a conference or a convention comes to your community, the economic impact is like over 3 nights, right? They come, you've got 150 people, they're going out to dinner, they're staying in hotels. When you have a film in town, that economic impact is, instead of 3 nights, 3 months, 5 months. Or in the case of Killers of the Flower Moon, 8 to 11 months, depending on cast or crew. So that really sort of hit home for me, even if they're not staying in a hotel. Like some of them did stay in hotels for To the Wonder. They're getting a per diem, and they want to spend it. They want to go out to eat. They're going to forget their. And it's just like any traveler, right? How many times have we traveled or they lost our underwear in the suitcase, so we have to go to Walmart and buy underwear, or we forgot our deodorant, or we forgot toothpaste. All of those things are happening, so it's really sort of driving some economic impact. The other thing that was really great for Bartlesville too is there was so much excitement. So there were so many people that maybe otherwise weren't going out to eat, but they wanted to go out to eat because they wanted to have the chance to see somebody. And I saw Ben Affleck at Sterling's or whatever. So that was, for me, that's the Patterson principle, right? 3 nights is a good economic impact. When you have a film, it's maybe 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. That was also when we started the Film Friendly Guide. So now you'll see in state media or in the newspapers, we talk about a community becoming film friendly certified. So we are film friendly certified, but it all started here in Bartlesville because the locations director for the film office wanted to make sure that when people were visiting, they had something more than just the visitor's guide. So when we make the visitor's guide, I really try to put a lot of information that will be helpful for people that live here too. But I don't necessarily put where the laundromats are or the barber shops and things like that. And one of the things Chris Kucharski told me was it would really be great if we could kind of give them some of the, where's the liquor stores, you know? Where are the places where we can, you know, like the Jiffy Wash type of place. So we created a little film-friendly booklet, maybe a place where, for example, at Sterling's, we knew that people could kind of go sit in the back if they wanted some privacy. So we tried to keep those things in mind. So we created that film-friendly guide, and then it turned into what it is now as this film-friendly certification for cities in Oklahoma. And of course, it brought us worldwide attention. Whether you liked it or not, it still won the Palme d'Or at Cannes Film Festival. So it did give us some worldwide attention. Of course, Terrence Malick, for those of you that don't know, his parents lived here. He spent some time in his youth here, but he went to school in Austin, Texas, but he had always wanted to come and make a film in Bartlesville. I have super cool stories about that experience. That are just magic that I don't have time to tell you all today, but I would love to tell you. It was just very, very special that Terry decided to make that film here. I had some fun moments. So then we had another in August, and that was How We Beat Georgia. So they were, Harvey Weinstein was, he really wanted to make that film in Georgia. And they had already found a house that they liked. And Jill Simpson at the time was the director of the Oklahoma Film and Music Office, and she begged, borrowed, and pleaded to get a helicopter ride for the producers and the director. And so they made that happen. Someone made a donation so that they could make that happen. They took the helicopter over Osage County, and the director, John Wells, said, we can't do this anyplace else. So it was really helpful that the creative team got on board and said, we have to do this in Osage County. And of course, those of you that live here know that Osage County did not really have the infrastructure. They have much more now, but especially in 2012, they had nothing like what they have right now. So they really had to utilize Bartlesville as their office space, hotels, restaurants. All of those things took place here in Bartlesville. So we were so thrilled to be a part of that. There's also lots of funny, interesting stories about that place, about that experience too. Scouting started in 2012. They filmed, they got here in July, pre-production. They filmed through the fall. Julia Roberts, we were just talking about this yesterday. Julia Roberts was very nervous about tornadoes. And so they built shelters out at the house so that they could have a place for them to go. it really wasn't our high tornado season. So people, I had called someone to come do training, like safety training, and he was like, oh, why? Yeah. And I said, just take the check and go. Give them the training that they're not going to need. They had over 100 crew on set per day. They had over 5,000 hotel nights during that production, and they rented about 30 homes. Our lodging tax collection was up 5% in that fiscal year. We ranked that year, that's the only time we've been in the top 5, but we ranked 5th in 2012 in Oklahoma with $160.7 million in domestic expenditures. Now that's everything, that wasn't just August Osage County, but they certainly kind of helped push us up over the edge. We generated enough tourism activity that year to give everyone $224 in tax relief. So that's how film works for you. And there was a minimum economic impact of $1.1 million. That's based on the formula that I use to gauge the economic impact and the return on investment for when visitors come to stay. So that's based on an average daily spend in the state of Oklahoma. It also factors in what the fiscal impact is, so sales tax and lodging tax spent. And then economic impact is that big, like, ripple effect number. So we like that number, it's pretty and everybody likes it, but I really try to be conservative and talk about fiscal impact so we can talk about the actual money that came back into the community. So Starbright, I put Mom in there. John Rhys Davies, he's right there. He was Gimli in Lord of the Rings. He was Salah in the Indiana Jones series. My brother got to be his driver during this production. This film has not come out. Should I do my John Rhys Davies impersonation while I'm online? I'm going to do it. He said, Marty, to my brother, Marty, this film never should have been made. And so it hasn't been released. But here's the thing, even though the film has not been released, we still reap the benefits because they were here spending money. They had an estimated sales tax collected around $66,000. Estimated lodging tax was around $22,000. The fiscal impact, so that sales and lodging tax together was about $91,000, and then that economic impact was about $2.7 million. Someday it'll come out. And then, see, isn't that clever? Once in a flower moon. I was trying. I was really tired when I did this. This was our Osage Nation masterpiece. Speaking of the Osage Nation, they came to see me this morning, the Osage Hotel and Casino. And so if you're enjoying any of those cookies out of that black, that came from them. I told them I would tell everybody that I brought those cookies from them. The scouting began in 2019. They had a whole other production team when that started. And they also were only going to be using Paramount, and then, is that right? Oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember everything. And then they switched over to Apple. The principal of photography, of course, didn't begin until 2021, and they had a lot of changes in that time. The executive producer changed, the director of photography changed, just lots of different things were happening in that time that it took. They had a qualified, and this is statistics from the State of Oklahoma Film Office, but a qualified direct spend of $127 million in the state of Oklahoma. So I will explain a little bit about the rebate when I get a little bit further, but it is not anything that these film productions get on the front end. It's a rebate based on their Oklahoma spend. So they're not getting a rebate based on what they paid Robert De Niro or Meryl Streep. They're only getting it on what they've paid in Oklahoma spend. So that makes a really big difference. And they don't get that until they turn everything in. So there were vendors that weren't paid with Starbright. Hence the reason John Rhys Davies said they should have never made it. But they were not getting any of that rebate money until those vendors got paid. I actually had one vendor call me and he said, you know what, I don't care. I just want to wash my hands of it. And I told the film office and they go, nope, they're getting paid. So they're trying to be very diligent with that money. There were 154 preparation days, 99 days of filming, 470 local career opportunities. So that's people that were working in catering, in the art department, in anything, you name it. We had EMTs that were working there. We had people that were working in construction, all of those things. So career opportunities plus 1,200 roles for background actors, which I know I have background actors here today. If you were a background actor, raise your hand. Thank you for your wonderful work. You helped make it believable. And you can probably attest to the fact that there were that many. I know there were days where there were hundreds of people on set. So that was really great. And then the economic impact of Killers of the Flower Moons was, now we crossed over 2 fiscal years, so I added that money together, but it was about $35 million for this area, and the fiscal impact was about $1.5 million, so the cash coming into the community. Now, this is just a review of what we had over the last year. There is a film company in Tulsa called Rebellion. They made 4 films here last year, 3 in their entirety. 1, they just did a little bit of it. I don't think I have that one on there. But the Belden was the one they did with Patricia Heaton. That was in March, so that gives you some of that information. Cottonmouth was one that they shot in its entirety at Prairie Song. The other great thing about Bartlesville is that we also rest in the Cherokee Nation. And the Cherokee Nation also has a film incentive that they've started to incorporate. So that has made Bartlesville even more popular. Just yesterday, the Cherokee Nation Film Office was here with a major studio. I got to kind of take them, they bought me lunch. I got to take them around. I showed them all some of our filming locations. But I think the whole idea was just to say, hey, we're here, we're open. We do have quality locations here. We have good infrastructure. So you can feel safe if you choose to support a production in the future in coming to Oklahoma. The Book of Jobs was the one that was later in the year last year. That was the one where you saw the film trucks everywhere, and that was their budget was a little bit larger. They had a producer that is an Oscar winner. They had the filmmaker was someone who had just graduated from USC. She also had, I think she had some wealth that was able to support that too, to make that project happen. But it really was a really wonderful experience to be able to see that we were getting not just to Killers of the Flower Moon, which is fantastic, but the likelihood of us having something of that size again is very, very slim. And so it's really, this is what we want, is I would rather see these smaller, more consistent productions coming, and I'm getting more to that about how we can help that happen here. And then of course Twisters came. Like I said, they only shot a little bit, but we did have an economic impact of around $105,000. Those are based on the overnight stays that the hotels reported to me directly. I haven't gotten the report from State Film Office yet, but the hotels texted me and said, all right, I had whatever, 55 nights. So here's a little background, and I'm trying to be really quick because I want to give you guys time to ask questions. So this is just a little bit about where the incentive started. So back in 2001, they had this brand new rebate. They were going to try to dip their toe. It was called the Compete with Canada Act. And then the next step was that they were able to sort of grow that program to a $5 million cap. In 2019, as they were getting momentum, they increased that annual cap. And they went from 4 million to 8 million. So that was a super huge deal. I've been to the Capitol many times talking about that and trying to make that happen. And then as we've been going towards the future, we had the Filmed in Oklahoma Act of 2021. That was Senate Bill 608, created a whole new rebate, and now we're at $30 million. Plus, there's a lot of extra things add-ons. So if they are in a rural area, if they use Oklahoma music. So 30 million is the total. You can't get the exact same percentage as they used to, they had a flat percentage. Now you get more like, I believe part of the reason why we have a TV show filming here today is because they got extra incentive for coming to a rural area. We don't think of ourselves as rural, but we are. So this is just a little bit more about that continued growth. So over the last 10 years, these productions have spent up to $300 million and added that to the state economy. Okay, so I'm not going to go through these boring numbers. I mean, they're interesting to me, but these are just kind of giving you an indication over the last 10 years how the hires have gone, from 466,000 to 7.6 million. Wages, expenditures. And this is what they're spending when they come into the state of Oklahoma. So this is just, some examples of really fun locations. I just wanted to throw some fun pictures in there so I could do my song and dance, tap dance for the latter part of this presentation. But these are definitely places. I just took people to both of these places yesterday to show them as locations examples. Of course, the community center is such a unique location. Our downtown is so beautiful. I love Guthrie's downtown. They've done some really great film work there. Where maybe we don't have that awesome Masonic lodge that Guthrie has, but we have some pretty cool stuff. And then this is not necessarily something that's been filmed. Mom, don't tell Kat that I did this. This is Hillside. This is the other Frank Lloyd Wright house that is in Bartlesville. And they have been willing to be seen. They're my neighbors, so I have negotiated things sometimes. But what they've done that's been fantastic is this is sort of like this extra add-on thing that I'm able to offer when cast and crew are visiting. They've been very generous about showing the home to people when they're visiting. Leo has been, I didn't get to meet Leo. My neighbor sent me the picture of him being there right after I left because we thought that he was coming later, but anyway. Didn't get to meet him, but he went there. And so we've had lots of really great people that have gotten to go see Hillside. And the Lenhart family, they're the ones that own the home. And they've been really great to share that. So these are the good times. That's Fritz Green. Those of you that know Fritz, he doesn't live here any longer, but he made Pruning the Family Tree. But he was able to work on set for Starbright. So that's him on set. There's Mom and I on Starbright. In the film that will never be seen in, but there's proof. We even had our own, whatever. We had a little...
What, trailer?
Trailer, yeah.
With our name on the door.
There's me and Benedict Cumberbatch. This is my favorite. I danced with him. I asked him to dance. I had not had any alcohol to drink. I was pregnant. I was hopped up on sugar though. So, and then this is a super fun film. It was elusive. I didn't list it on there, but the producer was a guy from Bartlesville. The filmmakers were from Oklahoma City. They still have some other films that they'd like to make in Bartlesville, but they're kind of small, and that kind of leads me to the smaller productions. So where we are right now and what we're trying to do. Those of you that know First Christian Church, we have a group called Buffalo Rome, and they're here today too. Wave, you guys. And their ultimate goal would be to be an additional space where we would have studio space. We would be able to educate people. One of the things that is a challenge for Oklahoma is that we don't always have enough trained crew. So when Killers was filming, Res Dogs was filming, Tulsa King was filming. We were in a little bit of hurt because some of these productions were not able to find their crew needs with what we had here in Oklahoma. So they were bringing in some people in. And even though people heard Sylvester Stallone say stuff about the heat, they really moved to Georgia because of the crew base. They needed more crew. So that's one of the things that Buffalo Rome has on their vision board, right? Is that we're able to have an opportunity for more people to be trained so that we can have crew. A lot of the people that are crew, a lot of the hair and makeup ladies that I know, they're able to do hair and makeup when they're not working on a film set, but then they're able to also go and work on these projects here and there. So there's really, it's a lot like gig work, so that's good. But the more productions that we have, the more we can turn that gig work into longer term productions. I have a friend that's he used to live in Bartlesville, he now lives in Oklahoma City, but he's an EMT and he's been a set medic for several productions. He retired from the fire department, so he no longer has to work all the time, and that kind of frees him up and gives him the ability to serve as an on-set medic. So that's what we're hoping to do, is just to be able to grow that crew base, provide that. That makes us even more attractive for films to come to Oklahoma when they know that they don't have to fly in somebody from Georgia or California to work on those types of productions. So that was like the super speedy version of my presentation. I know I didn't cover everything, but I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of where we started which was with To the Wonder and me thinking that was like a one-shot deal. And then here we are now where we really have become one of the leaders in the state of Oklahoma in film locations. Of course, Tulsa and Oklahoma City will be able to outdo us as far as size, space, and some of the incentives that they're able to offer. But when they want to get away, I will tell you specifically about the Book of Jobs. The producer said, you know, some of the homes that they used that were over on Delaware, they really did look like some of the homes that he wished he could have used in California. But when they filmed here, there was no airplanes overhead. Yeah. And when they needed to drive from the trailer, from, you know, base camp to set, it literally took them 7 minutes. As opposed to, you know, we worried during August Osage County that they would be upset that they'd have to drive from Bartlesville all the way to Bahuska. They were like, that's nothing. They loved it. So, so we really are in this prime spot. The other great thing about us, which is good for us for a lot of reasons, but the fact that we are a straight shot from the airport, that helps us out a lot. Also, the fact that our airport really is far and above what would be required or needed for a city of our size because of Phillips and ConocoPhillips. Leo was able to land his jet at the Bartlesville airport whenever he needed. So that's just kind of what I wanted to share with you. It is continuing to grow. Like I said, I was hosting someone yesterday. We have a TV show filming here now. We have a film that is supposed to come in the summer. They actually scouted in March of last year, and they are working with the Cherokee Nation Film Office. So, and I actually, some of them have been here at the museum. We have an extensive photography collection at the Bartlesville Area History Museum. So Debbie Neese, superstar that she is, in the credits for Killers of the Flower Moon, in the credits for the Killers of the Flower Moon book, everybody. Go read David Gran. Special thanks to Debbie. Because of Frank Griggs, really. We have this incredible photo collection. So even though the story of Sarah's Oil really took place more in the Creek Nation, they're filming it here because of, well, sets, yeah. And the Blue Mound, they're going to be filming out of the Blue Mound somewhere over there. So we're really excited to do that. So that was the speedy version. I'm sure you guys have questions, but I also want to be respectful of your time. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
So let me interject. I'm sure that a lot of people don't have a clue as to how many photos are actually here. We have 162,000 images on our drive that are keyword searchable. And yesterday we had staff from the movie she's speaking about here looking through the collections, and they walked away with all these ideas for their sets. As well as the Nellie Johnstone. They were down there looking at the Nellie. So the Bartlesville Area History Museum might be quiet on some days, but there's a lot of work that happens here, and we're working in the community to make this happen.
Yeah. They've been an excellent resource for us, for the whole state, really. I mean, Debbie, is there any other museum in the state that has as much of a photography collection?
I have to tell you, this film in the UK that I've been working with, they contacted the Osage Nation. They said, no. I think they're overwhelmed. Contacted the Historical Society in the Osage, and they said, no. They contacted the Oklahoma Historical Society, and they said, call Debbie at the Bartlesville Area. I'm now working with the UK.
Well, and just to add to that whole thing that Maria brought up about us coming here, we came to the museum, met Betty and Debbie, and then my wife loving architecture, just hit it off, and that was part of what sealed the deal, is this location as well. So
yeah, when
it
they
is,
come to visit, it's
team.
like a 45-minute conversation because we want to cram as much into them as we can.
Yeah, oh yeah, they sold us. So if anybody in the Bartlesville sells Maria, Debbie, and Betty, you put those three ladies together, you can sell Bartlesville to anyone.
Yeah. Well, I've scratched the surface, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to. Yes, ma'am.
Did you say they're filming at Blue Mound?
They will be filming at Blue Mound this summer. That is their plan.
Because I happened to pass by there, on the side of my car, it looked like there was a cut through made to the top of it. I thought, I didn't look at, that's odd. I wonder
Well, it might be. They aren't. Well, I talked to the producer just whenever we were in Oklahoma City, and a couple weeks ago, and they don't know when they're going to start yet. But they did go. The Cherokee Nation took some people to go visit that yesterday.
Well,
So
it looked like a line had been just from a very brief glance. A line had been plowed from the bottom of it to the top.
yeah. Well, and you know, speaking of filming here, we also have this TV production that's happening, and this year in the legislature, they had a vote to do an extra incentive for episodic television. There was mention of live studio audience. A lot of the producers and people I was talking to at the Capitol were like, we're not ready for live studio audience stuff yet. But episodic television, certainly Reservation Dogs with Sterling Harjo has made a huge difference for us to be able to do that. And that's where the money is, man. Like, films are great. We love films. They come in for a while, but TV shows come back every year. And so we're hoping, I don't know if that's going to make progress this year. It got out of committee, but it passed 9-1.
Maria, how did our legislators vote on that?
So that was in the Senate Finance Committee. It passed 9-1. The one lone vote was Senator Julie Daniels. No vote. So Julie's very anti-film, so if you want to tell her how much you would like film to continue, feel free to write her a note.
Does she live here?
She does live here.
That does.
Yeah, she lives here. She's been on sets. She's seen the numbers. So, but I'm not sure if that episodic television one is going to go through this year. We'll see. It still has to make some ways through the Capitol. But there was some talk at the Capitol this year too, that there's some changes that they want to make, and those may not happen until next year. But it's a moving target, right? We're always kind of working on it. Yes, sir.
Maria, you mentioned skilled labor was a kind of a difficult obstacle for you to overcome. What are other obstacles that you feel that you kind of struggle with when you're trying to sell our location that we as citizens can help with?
Well,
Anything?
you had me until you said we as citizens. I wish we had more hotel rooms, honestly. The kind of hotels that people might want to stay at long term. I mean, our census has gone down a little bit. I mean, I know it wasn't like the nicest hotel in the world, but it did help to have that Emerald Inn on 75, because that was about 100 more rooms. It did help to have that Microtel on the south side of town. You as citizens can like start continuing to ask questions about what's happening with that. Like, it's just boarded up, and so certainly, you know, of course, hotels are going to come when they know that the business is here. And of course, the Osage Nation did a lot of research before they made that decision to put that casino hotel there. And I know the Cherokee Nation has a goal that eventually they would have an additional hotel. Keep in mind, because I have been a pest, the city has been very good about negotiating a relationship with these tribes. So for example, the Osage Nation, who would not typically have to pay lodging tax, will be paying an equivalent to our 5% lodging tax. And we're starting to see that money come in. So they're not required to do so, but because we are providing some infrastructure, they are going to do that. Our hope is that if the Cherokee Nation eventually builds a hotel in this area, the same thing would happen. But you know, one thing that you, Brian, that you could do, any of you could do, we do have the state of Oklahoma, the Cherokee Nation, and eventually Bartlesville will probably have a bigger one with the help of Buffalo Rome. There is a locations database, and they want anything. It doesn't need to be like the pretty pictures. They want like the rough looking, I mean, Renee is a big filmmaker, so I mean, you have all kinds of weird sets, right? You might have something industrial. You may think it's ugly, but it might be the perfect backdrop for a film production. So if you think you have something unique, if you think you have land, if you have something that that you would be willing to let a production use, go look at the Oklahoma Film and Music Office or the Cherokee Nation Film Office locations directory and look at the pictures that they already have and say, oh, Guthrie's got a picture of their rundown gas station. I own a rundown gas station, I'll put that in there. Something like that. So that's one thing for sure. Having because I can't do it all. I talked with Buffalo Realm about helping us try to develop it, but even we can't do it all. And also, I don't always know what a film wants. You know, like one production has been looking for, okay, help me out here, people. They're looking, there's a scene in a courtroom, not unlike what was in Killers of the Flower Moon with the balcony in the back. So any space that would look like that could work, but let me tell you what doesn't work, because I've already sent these out. Good Shepherd Presbyterian Church is too big. Central Middle School is too big. Our courthouse does not have a balcony. The old Washington County courthouse is not a courthouse anymore. So, I mean, it would require a lot of work to make those adjustments to make it look like. But think To Kill a Mockingbird, the scene where all of the people that are black have to sit up in the back. That's kind of the look that they're going for. So if you know of a space or a church that looks like it's from the 1920s and could look like a courtroom, it would be great to use the space that they used in Pawhuska for Killers of the Flower Moon. But because this particular production is getting an incentive from the Cherokee Nation Film Office, they have to stay in the Cherokee Nation. So anyway.
Top of the old RSU, the old Masonic.
Yeah, they've looked at that too. It would require too much infrastructure work inside.
That's a shame.
I know, because it's such a great space.
It is.
I've taken a lot of locations people up there.
Yeah.
So.
What about the Our Lady of Guadalupe Church in Dewey?
Yeah.
Have they checked that?
They have that. You told me that. I need to go send it back. The problem is it's a little.
It's too little.
It's a little not. It's not period.
New.
Kind of plainish. Yeah. Right.
Well, they can
modern
fix
looking.
that.
I know. Okay. Thanks, Mom. Yes, ma'am.
What about the Dewey Hotel?
Not for this, but yeah, they don't have an open space that has like a interior balcony. Yeah. Think on it.
Incentives, you were going to tell us the picture on that and whether or not they all add and whether or not they can be used up on a single film. I'm
Yeah.
curious about that.
Evan, can you talk a little bit about that? So when I started, the incentives were really plain, right? Like it was, you could get up to this percentage amount and you got an extra if you had music. Well, now they've kind of complicated it. Well, in a good way. They're incentivizing, and Evan has looked at it a lot more than I have. Would you tell him a little bit about what it looks like now?
When you hear the number, the $30 million number, which is what we're at right now, $30 million per year, that means that the state of Oklahoma will rebate up to $30 million. When they reach the $30 million, it's a cap. There's no more. And what happened when we had Tulsa King and Killers and Reservation Dogs all at the same time, they used up all the rebate money. So smaller films, like for example the ones she cited here, Rebellum, it makes it harder. They did get it, but it makes them harder for them to get it because the big guys have eaten it all up. So it's a $30 million chunk. The base rate, I believe now, is 20%. But then there's all kinds of add-ons that come to that. So if you use music from Oklahoma, it's a 5% bump. If you use a certified sound stage, it's a 5% additional bump.
Percent of what?
Percent of the money you spend.
Okay.
Right? So if I'm a producer and I spend $1 million
in Oklahoma,
and in Oklahoma, right, and I get a 20% rate, then I'm getting what, $200,000 back. But if I raise that 5% or 10% with add-ons like rural community, rural county, I believe we fall in here in Bartlesville, then that can get up to 30. And with the Cherokee Nation's incentives stacked, which you can stack them together, here we have the potential for about 40% rebate, and that's why we have a golden nugget here. There's only, the city of Oklahoma City has an additional incentive, but we really do have a kind of a sweet spot here with that, and that's why you see Rebellum coming here 4 times last year, because they're getting both of those, or at least one of them.
Thank you, Evan.
Do you happen to know what kind of incentives they have over in Georgia?
I don't remember.
Georgia has an unlimited incentive.
There's no cap.
There's no cap. But the numbers are not necessarily better. They're a little slightly different, but there's no limit.
And some states do work as a tax credit. And some states are selling that tax credit. So, I mean, it's, yeah.
There's rebate, but in here in Oklahoma, it's a rebate. They give you money back.
Yeah,
right?
you have to spend it.
In some places, it's a tax incentive, which isn't quite as good. But
Yeah.
still useful.
Thank you, Evan. He's not just a pretty face, Christine. Anybody else have any other questions? Yes, sir.
When you talk about shortage of crew, what crew are you talking about?
It can be anything, really. It just, well, especially like for Killers of the Flower Moon, you know, they need grips and they need electricians and they need gaffers and those kinds of things. Production assistants. Sometimes production assistants aren't, you know, they're not making the big bucks, but it's just like when we need a lot of fast food workers here, and that's difficult to get because we don't have that many people that are able to do that or use that, have that kind of time. It's especially difficult when there's multiple productions happening, and especially something like Killers, which was so big, required so much. For those of you that are familiar, the old carpet mill in Bahuska, that was the warehouse. It's massive, massive. And they had a construction setup in there. Just all of those little worker bees is where it becomes difficult. Yes, ma'am.
I'll tag on.
Sure.
I work in the film industry. I work on Killers of the Flower Moon and art department.
Yay.
And
Did you work in aging and dying?
I
That was my
did.
favorite department. Because the door said aging and dying, I was scared to go in.
I got a pass on that one. But outside of filling calls that are more skill specific, right? Like not everyone locally is going to be skilled as a grip or a rigging electric or, you know, our department specifically. But there are calls, once the union fills whatever percentage is in our contract that we have to hire locally. There can be local hires that extend beyond the union calls where you have carpenters, construction, maybe security is a good influx for hiring locals that are maybe not skilled in film specifically. There are others, but that's just in general. It doesn't always have to be film specific.
And sometimes production assistants are they're the young snot-nosed kids, right?
PAs are good opportunities for people who want to get into film.
Yes.
There's always, you know, kind of who you know, and
there is,
who vouch for your character and gusto, because PA is hard work as well. But it does extend to even skill sets that may be specific. Like we hired local people to Bartlesville that weren't film, but also had oil rigging knowledge. Right, so there can be specific trades that come in that are outsourced as well, and locations often will reuse the same location. So when you do, you know, any investors in here, if you do purchase a historic building or a unique looking location that is easily changed, you know, by the facade or a different angle or whatever, a lot of times film will reuse those locations, and you establish a business relationship. Why? Because it's easier for a production to return to someone who already knows the language, how it goes, and you have trust and rapport.
That is, I mean, and a perfect example of that is right now, Hughes Ranch has served as a location for multiple productions. They were the house in Starbright. They were the house in Killers of the Flower. They were Robert De Niro's house in Killers of the Flower Moon. They were the prison scene in Starbright that we're never going to see. They were, you know, the scenes where Ben Affleck was looking at Rachel McAdams longingly, you know, in the fields, you know. But part of the reason is because the Hughes family has been very easy to work with. They understand how it works. And they speak the lingo to a certain extent too, so that helps us out a lot too. Okay, other questions? I know it's 12:55. Yes, sir.
Yeah, last summer I was down at Harbor Freight, walked out, and there's a 1-ton truck out there with Georgia plates on it, and the guy getting out of it, and I made comment about the Georgia plates. He says, yeah, he was working on the movie.
Yeah, yeah. And they got to eat.
Not really a question, just more so just information as far as when you're coming across productions where you're having a hard time finding qualified people to be able to perform work that's needed. Workforce is definitely here. Our reps are definitely trained in knowing the cross training, cross skills. So you may end up with a person who maybe doesn't think that they have the qualifications or the skills to be able to help on a movie set, but reaching out to us at Workforce and letting our reps help, we can scout out those people, those applicants, and we can help to make that hiring process.
And that's great that you all are also, I know OESC has a good relationship with the Department of Commerce.
Yes.
And so that's, it's getting all those pieces connected and filtering together. Yep. Okay, yes, Mom.
Tell the story of Martin Scorsese in the street between the high school and the Caney River Bridge. Or about the orthopedist, or the ear doctor. People don't know that you do that.
Any of those would be good.
That's why I'm telling you.
So what she's referring to is oftentimes a production will call me because they need something. And I may not know the guy, but I know the guy that knows the guy. The Scorsese incident she's speaking about in particular was when they started doing night shoots. They were doing construction, on Hillcrest during Killers. And so they start doing night shoots. Mr. Scorsese goes to bed at 3 a.m. and at 6 a.m. the trucks are going beep, beep, beep.
It's so funny.
I got a video from Daniel Lupi. Can you hear this, Maria? Yelling at me about. Have you heard Lupi? I'm pretty good at my Lupi impersonation. Maria. And I said, okay. And I was trying to do it kindly and politically correctly because those workers were hired by the city of Bartlesville. They are on a timeline, and for every day that they go over, it will cost something, right? And so, I'm talking to Micah at engineering here, and he's annoyed with me. And finally, I stopped during construction with the guy with the stop sign, and I gave him my card, and I said, can you please give this to your boss and tell him to call me as soon as possible. So we talked, and he kind of explained it to me. We had to talk to the city again. Finally, Lupi said, just tell me how much I got to write the check for. And essentially that's what ended up happening. But that was like a whole thing because we were trying to do, okay, well, we won't have them start work on those days. So negotiating and figuring all that out was kind of a pain. They'll call me when they need a doctor. When Robert De Niro hurt his leg, they wanted somebody on set. And I had doctors that were like, we'll open up the back door and he can come in here, we'll keep it private. They're like, nope. They got to come out here. I had my gynecologist said, listen, if you need anything, I don't care what it is, I will be there. And so when he hurt his leg, I texted her and I was like, all right, girl, now's your chance. And she was like, I have to deliver a baby. So she couldn't go. Anyway, they got an orthopedist there. But they just call for anything. The joke that I always said is that if they call me, they may say that they want a purple chair. And I can find a purple chair, but they don't want a purple chair. They want 10 purple chairs so they can pick the right purple chair that's going to work for whatever it's, art department lady, that's exactly, how it works. So sometimes that's what I'm doing, and I'm getting calls from Daniel Lupi at 6 in the morning or things like that. But it's really wonderful to be able to one of my husband's friends said, Maria is the straw that stirs the drink. And it's really wonderful to be able to find the right person that connects to the right person so that they have a better experience. And then they want to come back. In Hollywood, California, the film industry, it really is a small, small world. Ben Affleck, shot To the Wonder. John Wells was the director for August Osage County when he was here scouting the week that they went on the helicopter in Osage County. I was talking to John Wells and I said, oh, you just shot Ben Affleck in The Company Men. He was just here for To the Wonder. He goes, oh yeah, Ben said he had a great experience. It was wonderful. I was like, awesome, I owe Ben a muffin basket. When Martin Scorsese started scouting, I still have a good relationship with Mr. Malick, and I had to contact him about something that didn't have anything to do with any of this. but he doesn't email, so I emailed his assistant, and I said, please tell Terry that we're having another film scout. It's just incredible, and I feel like we would not be where we are today had it not been for him coming and making To the Wonder. So please tell him thank you, and I'm so excited. So Terry dictated a message back and said, oh, I just talked to Marty. You're gonna love him. I told him Bartlesville was great. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, tell Marty he's gonna love me. I didn't get to meet Mr. Scorsese, but that's okay. I mean, that's not why I do it. I really just want them to have a good experience so that we are setting the stage for them to want to come back and continue to make the economic development that is associated with film continue to happen. So that's it. I'm done.
Reservation dogs? Anybody?
Yeah. Sure.
The school setting? It was our one-room school that did that.
Oh, that's so cool.
And I'm in season 1, episode 2.
Eyesight in the back. You don't want a meat pie?
No, not from the sick girl.
And Debbie, we're going to
Yes. Next Friday's her last day, everybody.